Oh, hello, good evening, welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live on Yusabata Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. I am Alfred Ocansey. This evening, government hands down equipment owners in Galamsey crackdown as Interior Minister directs all police commanders to forward chassis numbers of seized equipment for prompt action. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also, President John Dramani Mahama has also directed all appointees not to engage in any form of mining. We've got details for you as to exactly how the president intends to monitor his appointees to Let's get into the details of the stories now. As Inspector General of Police Christian Tete Yohonu has declared an all-out war on illegal mining, saying it poses a serious threat to national security and the environment. Speaking at the Regional Police Commanders Conference, COP Yohonu addressed the growing crisis of illegal mining, particularly in the Western North region. He revealed that armed criminals linked to illegal mining operations have carried out brutal attacks on innocent civilians, including forest guards, without justification. Given the escalating violence and environmental damage caused by illegal mining, COP Yohonu stressed that urgent action was needed to combat the problem. He called on regional commanders to intensify their efforts and adopt a coordinated approach to tackle the crisis. Here is the IGP speaking at that conference earlier today.
Mining poses a significant security risk, particularly in our forest reserves and mining communities. In regions like the Western North and many others, armed criminals have carried out brutal attacks on innocent people, including forest guards, without justification. This lawlessness must not be allowed to continue. We are declaring war on crimes related to illegal mining, and I expect every regional commander to take decisive action to bring perpetrators to justice.
That's the IGP there. Meanwhile, Minister for the Interior, Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, has directed the police to forward chassis numbers of seized equipment of illegal miners to his office for further action. According to him, government has decided to go after owners of the mining equipment, such as excavators being used in illegal mining activities. He says equipment owners are enablers of Galamsey, and it is about time government went after them. The minister spoke during the meeting with regional commanders earlier today.
The Galamsey have since written to the IGP that henceforth any equipment that we find either in our forest or Galamsey site, the chassis number of that vehicle or that equipment be forwarded immediately to us, and then we'll get the owner. So if you are renting your bulldozer or other equipment to Galamseyers and you are sitting at home, yes, we go to the site, they run away. But we have the chassis on the facility, the truck, and we will come pick you at home. And I've written to the IGP, this is something that we need to look at. The foreigners that we find in those forests, what do we do to them? Since I became the Minister of Interior, we have returned well over 107 citizens of other countries that we have found in fraud and in Galamsey activities. I want to reiterate to the regional police commanders in particular that any foreigner that we find in our forest, immediately call your colleague from the immigration for them to pick them, because we have decided that any foreigner that we find in our forest or involved in any fraud, our first option is to repatriate them back into their country. And we will not compromise on this. So as regional police commanders, I have written to the IGP insisting that if any commander, we found that you get foreigners and you cannot forward them to us for repatriation, then that may mean that you may not want to stay in that region, and therefore we may have to remove you to where maybe you may not have to see galamseyers or illegal people conducting activities in our country. Other questions that I want all of us to be thinking about.
As the Minister for the Interior, Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, let's bring in engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, the convener of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, joining us right now. Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. So you heard the minister there indicating that the new approach that this administration is taking in the fight against illegal mining is to unmask the financiers of this illegal business. And so the first step is to identify the chassis numbers of the excavators after they are impounded. How much of an impact will this make?
So let me commend the government. I am beginning to see some positive steps being taken in terms of the fight against galamsey. Some of the things that some of us have been saying long ago, we're beginning to see that happen. And I think all of us would have to support the government to win this particular fight. So let me come to the particular points you make. I think before the minister spoke, the IGP spoke and declared war on galamsey. And that's what we are. We are in a situation where we are in a state of war, where 9 of our forest reserves, well, the ministry says they've taken over 7. But even if 2 of your landmass has been taken over by foreign militia, people who are well armed and all can outgun our police, outnumber our police, that is war. And we need to be reciprocating in that manner. So I think what the IGP said is in the right direction, and we encourage them to walk the talk. And this issue about excavators, excavators have become the weapons of mass destruction. And I have insisted. And so there's a piece I wrote about the issues of burning excavators. I insist the fact that once you take the chassis numbers, you would be able to trace it back to the person who imported it, who bought it, who was the last person to own it. And so you will be able to trace it. These excavators cost a minimum of $200,000 a piece. It's not chicken change. Me and you and I will not be able to buy it. Our salaries will not get into that range. The people who bring them in are they are the root of this particular challenge. So I think what the minister is saying is what has to happen. And not only should we trace these people, we should now be treating excavator importation into this country as the way you would treat the importation of morphine, for example. It has to be a controlled substance. So right at the port, we need to be dealing with it like that. And then I would also encourage the minister, and he should talk to his Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. There was a pilot project about tracking excavators, being able to geofence it and all of that. It was successful. It was done by professors at UMass with the Mineral Commission and all of that. They have set up a center in Accra that is able to do that. The only reason it was not mass rolled out was because it would affect the trade. And, the people who had to take those decisions did not take that decision. So beyond what the minister is doing, which is the right step, we should go ahead and fully implement that excavator tracking and geofencing.
I see. Now, there would also be that question about, beyond this. I mean, there's that aspect of beneficial ownership, is it not? These excavators may have been registered in the name of someone else who would not be the original kingpin or the financier of this particular trade, so that if it is for instance, as we want to call it, big men, I mean, politicians and influential people in society who are funding this illegality, a number of them will not want to put their names on documents. So how about that?
So again, this thing, it is easy to trace. Because the monies that are involved in this thing are not chicken change. You will find out that you will be able to trace who bought that excavator, where did the money, the funds come from. So you'll be able to then trace that funds. So if you go and find out, and it's Kenneth Ashigbe, my name is on that, I should be able to prove I imported it, who was the bill of lading assigned to, who did the transfer. If the money came into my account for me to do it. If you go, you trace my account, you will find who sent the money to me. So you can trace it. We need to trace it to the source of the funds. So when we do that, we would then start exposing who the beneficial owners are. So if the government is so minded to do it with the FIC and all of that, we would be able to trace this back. Excavators are not like mobile phones that you can put in your pocket. We would find it. So there's work that has to be done to be able to trace it back to the people who brought it in, who imported it. If you go into the port and all of that, we would find it. Working together with customs and all of that, we'll be able to go back to the original person who ordered it in and be able to trace who paid the money to all of that. That can be fine. The government has the power through the FIC and all of that to be able to get access to the financial records. So if it is something that with the things that are happening and the things that are being said, if the political will is there and His Excellency as He's directed His people, and you're beginning to see not just only one minister talk, but various elements are speaking about things they have done and they are doing. With that will, definitely with the Bank of Ghana, with the FIC, we will be able to trace the money, follow the trail of the money. And then if they use people like myself and you to register it, we will be able to trace who the beneficial owners are behind that, find them out and expose them. I've heard the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources talk about the naming and shaming. Expose all of these people who are sitting sometime in the pews of some of these our churches or in the front of some of our mosques, but are the people who are funding this thing that will drive us into extinction.
See, but well said, well intended, but it's not going to be an easy fight, isn't it? We're talking about people who, as you indicated, yes, we know them because the previous administration, this administration have all conceded that there are influential people in society who are funding this. Some of them may have even funded a political party activities, members of parliament's campaign and so on. This is not going to be an easy fight, Engineer.
No, it is not going to be an easy fight at all. As we speak, the MP of the NDC MP of our Wayne constituency has been accused by the traditional council of being involved in Galamsey. He has counter-accused them that he is not, it is them. I'm waiting to hear His Excellency the President order an investigation into that. The NDC constituency chairperson for the Axim area, for example, has been accused by one of the large-scale miners of involvement in Galamsey. I'm expecting to hear His Excellency ask for the investigation into that. The challenge about Akonta mining, where he was pointed out by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and the Minerals Commission, and I know that the police had investigated it. I know the Forestry Commission had done a report. He's from the MPP stock. I am waiting to hear the President order a prosecution into the particular case. And so, it is very true that our politicians, and so our last hour would say, that the firefighters have become the arsonists. That's why we all need at this point to be supporting the Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Environment, the Interior, all of them that have declared openly their intention to fight this. The Galamseyers, the criminals, when it comes to that criminality, both the NDC and MPP are joined to the hip, would come after them. So all of us, and that's where the media coalition, we need to be all the way out. That is where the religious bodies, where the professional bodies, the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, Labour, we need to come and support the fight that is happening and be able to point out to the government the things that are not going through right. I disagree with the Minister for Interior when he says that instead of going according to the Minerals and Mining Act as amended in 2019, that has stiffer sanctions for foreigners involved in Galamsey, that his first option is to deport them. Our borders are porous. We know Aisha Wan, when he was supposed to have been deported, found his way back into this country. So don't just deport them. They will come back and continue their trade. And I also disagree with the government currently when they are attempting to only amend the LI 2462. It has to be revoked completely. So there are some things that are going very well, excellent according to plan. There are few things that they could improve, and we should be able to point it out to them. As I said, the one who charts the path does not know where it's crooked, so we should be offering them that. But the government needs our support currently. There are great things happening, there are great initiatives happening, and we need to put full steam to ensure that by the time that the 120 days is up, the promise that His Excellency the President made in number 19 of his social contract to Ghanaians is fulfilled. And we actually get, to win this. But let's not celebrate too quickly. There's still a lot of work to be done. Some of the 7 forest reserves that the government now is able to go in there and they've gone arrested people, the Galamseyers have gone back into those places. The question I would ask of all the police, divisional, regional commanders in those places, if, we're able to go into those communities, take excavators and things like, how are the people able to move excavators? Who would have to go onto the road and go back into those communities? The IGP should be dismissing all the regional commanders, all the divisional commanders that are in those places that is happening. And one of the things I would urge the IGP and the Minister for Interior to do is that there should be a complete reshuffle of all police commanders who are in the Galamsey areas, who have stayed there from 2017 up to today. All of them have become corrupted. All of them, not even one. All of them have either become corrupted. All of them, listen to me, all of them have either become corrupted or they are incompetent. Because if they are sitting in those places and that the things are happening, it's either that they are complicit in it, and then, or they are incompetent. And so what has to happen is that they have to be reshuffled out of those areas.
But that's a very bold and emphatic comment to make, that all the regional commanders have been either compromised or incompetent.
Not the regional commanders, the police commanders in the areas.
The police commander in the areas.
Let me give you a typical example.
Yes. I just wanted to get into the specific. Exactly why do you say so?
So let me give you an example. Enyinem, you go to Enyinem, between Enyinem police station and then where the Enyinem River is. It's just a spit through. And there's Galamsey happening there. Just before you get to Enyinem from Accra, you see a place where they manufacture chamfant. So that police commander that is in that particular area, it is either he is part of the criminal gang or he's so incompetent that he cannot act. So the thing is about if you are either one of them. In both cases, you are not worthy to be in those places. A lot of these police commanders are rich now, because they are profiting from that. And that one I will say a lot, because I wouldn't be able to point those who are not involved in it. But a lot of them are in it. And those who are in those communities where the things are actually happening. You go into some towns, some of those towns, right in the middle of town, Galamsey is happening in there. And you're telling me you're a police commander in that space, you are the intelligence officer in that space, and it's either that you are not part of it or you are so incompetent you are afraid to act. And in both ways, if you have a commander, a police commander, or an immigration officer who is the head of that place, and all of this is happening, and you are not acting, we are not hearing you scream out and say nobody's hearing me, and you are either complicit or you are incompetent. In both ways, you cannot be representing the IGP in those communities. You cannot be representing the president in those communities. And another thing I will be asking, and I know is that by the time the DCs and the MCs are appointed, with the government strategy of decentralizing it, one of their key KPIs should be your fight against Galamsey. So that once we drive the people out and the water guards and all of them go in there, you should ensure that there's no Galamsey happening. And we should make sure that we publish it. At the end of the year, if that is happening, you are dismissed. Then you cannot be the representative of the president in that particular community. So as the IGP has said, this is war. And when you get into war, you remember that the UK, for example, when they had a situation where they had those riots, they set up courts. And then within 24 hours, when you are arrested, they take you to the court, and they are able to, take you through prosecution. And if you are found guilty, they jail you. And that's what we need to do. I've heard the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources say that he's working with the Attorney General and the Chief Justice. It is important that is done. And again, within this NDC government that is talking about a 24-hour economy, we should have a 24-hour court system where if you are arrested for Galamsey, a fast-track court, that you will be taken to. And then whether it's at midnight, you are taking if you're a foreigner, you are found guilty, immediately they put you in the deepest part of our jail. The fine, they make sure it's not only a custodial sentence, but the fine as well. So the $40,000 that we need to be able to reclaim a hectare of land, we would be able to take those fines and use them to do it. And use those fines to also finance the Blue Ocean project that the Ministry of Environment wants to do.
And you went ahead of me to talk about the concerns you had raised about the decision by this administration to rather amend or review the portions of the LI 2462 instead of the repeal. I mean, what's the concern in there? Because you hear the minister on the floor as well try to make the argument that the concerning areas of that bill is what they are removing, and so they'll keep other areas that are also of good concern.
No, so but again, if you go and look into that particular act, you see that particular act has a lot of things that are wrong with it. One of the major issues is that if you look into that particular document, for any LI, it should be taking its power from a parent act on which the LI is based. Ask the EPA that any of their parent acts give them the mandate to be the ones managing and controlling mining. They don't. They are not one of those natural resource commissions. It's the Forestry Commission that will handle the forests. It's the Mining Minerals Commission that they don't have that. So fundamentally, that is flawed. We have a case in court trying to deal with that particular one. In the particular act, I think it's Section 4, it talks about the fact that for you to be able to mine, it turns over the regulation that was existing before it, which says that you will need to go to the Forestry Commission for them to give you whether you can actually mine in the production forest reserve or not. But now they've turned it upside down, and it points to Schedule 1, which will tell you that you go to the Minerals Commission, go and get your permit, go to the EPA. You have to do all of those things before you go to the Forestry Commission. Bear in mind, by that time, you would have spent a lot of money. And if you now go and the Forestry Commission tells you cannot do it, your argument will be that, why have you allowed me to spend all of that money? The second bit is that in that particular chain, before you get to the Forestry Commission, the minister responsible for natural resources, which is currently the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, would then have had to give consent before. Then one of the CEOs of the agencies that work under him, the Forestry Commission, is he now going to say the minister says you should do it, but I'm saying that no? So that section, for example, it completely goes against the grain of the way we should manage our natural resources. It's turned it all the way upside down. So you would want that, for example, would also be cured. So there are various elements within the particular LI, not just the issues around the precedent, allowing mining in globally significant biodiversity areas, but other elements of that particular law. So that law has to be revoked. Bear in mind, His Excellency, the President, when he was in opposition, what he used to say was not an amendment of that act. That act is supposed to be repealed. And it's one of the things that all of us, should, rally around and let the NDC that currently has over, majority in Parliament get that LI annulled so that we start the process all over again. And so the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey and the CSOs, we've taken a paper, we presented a paper to the subsidiary legislation in Parliament, and we are pushing that. And it's important that all of us add our shoulders to it. And I'm praying that His Excellency the President will listen to us and go back to what he said when he was in opposition, that this particular law has to be repealed or revoked. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure what the differences of a repeal and a revoke would have to be. But what we want is that it should not be on our statutes books anymore.
All right. And Engineer, I want to hold on a bit for me, because President John Mahama has also been speaking about this. He's issued a directive barring government officials from engaging in any form of mining whether legal or illegal, with immediate effect. In fact, he stressed that any official wishing to venture into mining must first resign from their government position. This directive is part of the president's broader environmental agenda. He was speaking at the launch of the Tree for Life Restoration Initiative in the Echimawa South Municipality that's earlier today, and vowed to intensify efforts against illegal mining and logging, two major drivers of deforestation in the country. I wanted to take a listen to him, and I'll seek your thoughts on what he said so far.
Unlike previous tree planting campaigns focused solely on numbers, Tree for Life is about sustainability. It's not just about calling people out to plant trees, but it's about ensuring that the trees grow, they thrive, and provide long-term benefits for our communities. This initiative will prioritize rehabilitating lands that have been destroyed by illegal mining. Our commitment to afforestation must be accompanied by strict environmental law enforcement. And this is why under my administration, we will sustain the fight against illegal mining or galamsey. And we aim in the short term to be able to reclaim at least 10,000 hectares of land.
As a president there, any source of inspiration for you in this?
Oh, definitely. This is one of the things I've been asking, that I've not been hearing the president speak decisively against galamsey. But this is the kind of rhetoric that we expect from the commander-in-chief. So this is the way definitely to go. And we need to, that resolve about being resolute and saying that if you are part of his government, you cannot do it. I am happy about it. I know His Excellency had asked that all of these people come and meet. And what I was worried about was that he was doing some of the things on the quiet, but he needed to bring it out in the open so that all of us, the citizens of this country, that the people from whom the sovereignty of the nation comes from which its mandate comes from, would also be behind him. So this is the way to go. The news is closing around these criminals, this nation record. And it's important that for us, the media, it's important that civil society organizations, it is important that labor comes again back onto the fore. And we all need to add the pressure to it. We don't have to relent. The fact that the right things are being said, we should not stop. We should do the work of the monitoring and evaluation so that we keep on looking and going to find out what is happening. For example, when
you have no...
Unfortunately, we lost engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe there, but he's made the point quite clear. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofeboa, said the initiative has come at a time when there is an urgent need to address ecological challenges. Take a listen to him.
The Tree for Life Reforestation Initiative couldn't have been launched at a better time. It is being launched at a time when there's an urgent need to address ecological challenges such as illegal mining, deforestation, and climate change. This initiative envisions transforming heavily degraded areas into functional, vibrant ecosystems that support biodiversity and human livelihoods. We intend to restore 500 hectares of mine-out sites within forest reserve annually. We intend to establish and maintain 10,000 hectares of forest plantation through the modified Tunja system, where farmers cultivate food crops alongside timber tree species. And we also will partner with private sector to establish and maintain 7,500 hectares of forest plantations annually. Collectively, these interventions will achieve an annual forest landscape restoration target of 20,000 hectares, culminating in the planting of over 80,000 hectares within 4 years. This will be a remarkable achievement in our landscape restoration efforts.
That's the minister under the project. That's the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, there. Under the project, 5 million tree seedlings would be distributed to be incorporated into farmland, whilst 1,000 casual workers from the forest fringe communities would be engaged to undertake enrichment planting of 4,000 hectares within degraded reserves. Now, the famous Edum Blue Light Market was today reduced to ashes after ravaging fire swept the area. The fire left several shops and properties destroyed. The inferno, which started in the early hours of today, spread rapidly to adjacent shops, causing significant loss for businesses and their owners. Inferno exposes major logistical challenges as personnel of the fire service struggle to douse the blaze. Let's take a listen to DO2 Peter Dai, Ashanti Regional Fire Officer.
Spread from this portion to the center where there's a market. I understand that place is called Blue Light. But we had a major challenge with accessibility because the place is very congested. There's no access to it, so we're unable to enter. But we're able to stand within the streets, position ourselves there, and fight the fire. So we had to extend length of hoses to get to the place. We also use our turntable ladder to get area access to the place to be able to put out the fire.
Meanwhile, President John Dramani Mahama has visited the fire scene moments after this happened, and he was briefed to assure traders of government support in these trying times.
And if it's a share, and your man say, and for stores are ashy na a idea, a your how ye. And Nedika meda fire service for us. And modern boy, I'm waiting me abre a jano anwase. Na ye anwa na yashe na a man see, and so I dare back one fire for a catcher and say, Ombedru no send on betty me remu etimia kodum jano. And we are dear back one a how ye. Now shall ye jump be brave, sanet here. Enti eja to mo a send na fire for betimi edru ho etimi edum janentem no na abeye ohaw ama omo enti o see if dey we su anyansa na ye hwe ye dwa no da ye planning ye send na beye a bibi kosi a na etimi aso ano ntem enti ye ni minister ne edwadifo no ebeka ya ka kire nadmo se ombehwe na omompe emoa bi emfa mo omo kakra. The chief of staff on Sobekasa, and Asante Regional Minister, any on Becano. Na Yashe and moi, a bit median aboam.
As the president there, and let's cross over to Zoom right now and speak to one person who has been also analyzing, especially how things have been playing out with respect to these public safety issues and fire outbreaks. Dr. Nanayao Akwada is Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety. He's joining us on Zoom right now. Dr. Nanayao Akwada, thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Thank you for having me, my brother Alfred. You've been hiding from me for so many months now. See, today here you are with me, right?
Indeed. And it's good to have you as always join us. I mean, this adds to the growing number of fire outbreaks, especially market fires. And one thing runs through them all. You hear the fire officers talk about lack of access or inaccessibility to these market areas, and then also the poor fire safety measures put in place in there. How does all of this strike you?
So, I mean, Alfred, it gets difficult for me each time we have to sit on radio or television to have this discussion because we sound like a broken record, right? The problem with the system that we are suffering right now is well researched. Everybody who matters knows what we must do to prevent or significantly minimize these instances of fires. But essentially, nobody is acting. Okay, the fire service itself is a culprit. Okay, now when they come out after every incident to come and start crying, logistics, lack of logistics. Why? They were not set up to fight fire. Their primary aim is to prevent fire. How do you prevent the fire? Through public education, through the application of rigorously applying the inspection regime that you were set up for. The fire service department itself is sleeping on this aspect of their job largely. And they wait, and when there is a fire, they cry lack of logistics. Look, the logistics itself is a whole discussion we have to talk another day as to how we are maintaining them, how we are using them, the training we provide to those who move these fire tenders and so on. So I don't want to dwell on that. The fire service must demonstrate strategic leadership in this aspect. Okay? Make sure that they go heavy on the prevention. And if they go heavy on the prevention, we will be hearing less and less talk of lack of tenders and all those things. It's good. I mean, every president since 1992 have retooled the fire service. What happened to those tools? Why must we retool them every 4 years? So there is something that we need to discuss, but I want to shelve that for another time. Number two, we know that the market fires did not start today. Alfred, you and I have talked about fires in our public spaces at least since 2015, right? But as far back as 2014, we brought in the FBI of the United States of America. Okay, one of the finest investigation bodies in Ghana, investigative body is in the world. We brought them in to investigate fire. So we know that our fire situation didn't start today. Everyone who matters knows the factors that feed into these fires. One, we've talked about issues about the built environment. We've talked about electrical wiring. So many things, accesses and all that, training, inspection and everything. Why is it that since 2013 till today, okay, we don't have a single policy document or a framework that stipulates specifically some standards that must apply when we are building markets? Why the Ministry of Works and Housing that awards these contracts for the building of these markets, what standard are they looking at in spite of all the fires that has occurred in the last 15 or 20 years? The Ghana Institute of Engineers, what proposals are they putting on the table? I'm expecting that the Minister of Works and Housing this time must actually work, at least put together a technical committee. The Institute of Engineers, Architectural Association, the National Safety Council, bring in some experts, Guta. Let us sit and put together one solid document and say that, look, from henceforth, this is what we are going to do for existing markets to make sure that we have passive systems, fire protection systems in place. And every market that has to be built must meet these standards. Otherwise, it is not built. So that when people have to put in tenders to construct some of these markets, they are going to follow through with some of these standards. Knowledge abounds in Ghana, but we literally don't want to use it because this market that is burned down today, nobody's going to go to jail for it. Nobody's going to get fired for it. Somebody's going to profit off it because contracts will have to be awarded. Somebody's going to profit off it because the taxpayers' money will have to be used to resettle or get people to restart their businesses. So someone is going to profit off it. So it looks like when the markets go down, it's a cocoa season for some people in authority. So nobody is doing anything about it. But look, we are humans. We have come far as a country. We must begin to take the bull by the horn and make sure that these fires will remain a thing of the past.
I see. You talk about the fact that this sounds like a broken record, because indeed this is not the first time you and I are having a conversation on market fires. Rightly so, even from the beginning of this year, January, February, there were 2 separate fires at Kwadaso Wood Market, reducing the shops and warehouses to ashes. Also in the Ashanti region, you have fire at the Swami magazine sometime in February, destroyed 25 spare parts shops and 34 vehicles. In March, there was this Konongo mining stores fire, which wiped out multiple businesses and some casualties as well. On the 21st of March, it was a massive fire at the Dum Kumasi, destroying shops and businesses as we've seen today. So Kumasi itself, I mean the Ashanti region itself, has had its own fair share of market fires, at least for this year. Dr. Kwada, hold on a bit for me, because our man on the ground, our Northern Bureau Chief, William Evans Sinkum, who knows these fires I've just talked about, like just the back of his palm, is joining us on the telephone right now. William, I mean, how are people reacting to this streak of fire outbreaks, market fires, since the beginning of the year?
Well, very regrettable, devastating, I mean, to many who have lost their wares today. They never thought that this thing was going to happen, but indeed, and to some, it is the worst disaster ever happened in terms of fire disasters as far as the Ashanti region is concerned. Over 300 shops, and it was like a dream. I mean, spreading wild and fast to places. It was quite a scene today.
I see. And just for the benefit of those listening to us, how big is this market, and what is the extent of damage in terms of the shops that have been also affected?
Well, so the Blue Light Market is one of the famous places or trading centers as far as Edum is concerned. I'm unable to tell you the area in terms of the number of acres that particular place covers, but it's quite colossal. It's actually, one would say, an encroachment on the Kumasi main rail lines. Number of structures are being built there. Particularly, they've been built for trading activities. So some of the people deal in clothes. I mean, all kinds of trading activities going on there: gloves, shoes, and then what have you. And in between the Blue Market, I mean, so we have the Akwesi Agyeman story building, and then the Hello FM story building. So in between these story buildings is the Kumasi Blue Market. Now, this morning's fire started a story building just after the Hello FM building, and then it's crossed the Blue Market, the Blue Light Market, to the Akwesi Agyeman, a story building. Now, what baffles many is how it was able to cross from that story building, which is also adjacent to Despite building, to the Akwesi Agyeman building. How the fire traveled, baffles many. But hey, we are still waiting for the expert to come out with a report, and then perhaps we'll have a better understanding, because we are talking about 500 meters away from the source. And even with that, the fire also managed to cross to the fence of the Kedetia second phase redevelopment market project, even though the project itself wasn't touched, but the fence of that particular project was touched. So it was very massive, Alfred, very, very massive.
And I see that the fire service is saying that this fire has now been brought under control. And as a matter of fact, the chief fire officer says the fire has been contained and then there's no cause for alarm. What's the state of affairs now?
Well, in terms of magnitude, yes, it has been brought under control, but there are still pockets of it from the debris. And I'm pretty sure that to them, that is not much of a work because the biggest fight was how to ensure that it doesn't also spread to places like the Kujach pharmacy story building, which in 2012 was also engulfed in flames and perhaps stretched further. That they were able to control, also secure the Hello building, which of course is, and then other properties around. I'm pretty sure they were able to do that, and for them, they've been able to douse, that escalation. But then, when it comes to pocket of fire from the debris, it's something that they are also dealing with. Even as I speak to you now, over 7 hours, and they are still at the scene.
I see. And how are the traders who have been affected by this taking that promise of an intervention as was announced by the president earlier today?
Well, some take them as consolation, even though when you engage, some of them, well, they believe that, well, half a loaf is better than none. They don't know which form is going to come because some of them, they are talking about close to millions. Some, they are talking about over a million. They are not sure that government is going to replenish everything that they've lost or replace everything that they've lost. Maybe something to cushion them. But even though they are anticipating that government will help, but they are also limited or cautioned in terms of what they expect of government.
Well, I appreciate you for this update, as always.
Thank you.
William Evans Sinkum is our Northern Bureau Chief there in the Ashanti region, giving us updates of what's the extent of this fire outbreak. If you are uninitiated on this, go on our Facebook page at 3FM927. We're showing you videos and pictures of the extent of damage caused by this inferno earlier today. I understand over 300 shops have been affected by this fire outbreak. The fire service says that this fire has been contained. William Evansinkum explains the extent of containment, but the pictures and videos we're showing you right now on our Facebook page at 3FM927 gives a clear indication of the extent of damage. And Dr. Kwada, before I let you go, hearing the fire service say that the fire tenders at the closest fire stations that could have responded swiftly to this Edo Market fire outbreak were actually out of commission. What it means is that they had broken down, and so they had to rely on the tenders in other stations, which were a bit far away as well, and that also affected their response time. I mean, what has to be done in addressing all of this, especially with the wake of these streak of fire outbreaks?
Yeah, Alfred, I wish I had a very sweet, if you like, answer to provide for this question. But I'm a safety professional, and the baseline for all of our activities remain risk assessment, threats assessment. These are things that they are continuously, as a security guy, you are doing. You are doing risk assessment, threat assessment, vulnerability assessments. The question you probably would have to ask the station officer for that location or the regional fire boss for that Ashanti region is that what kind of threat or risk assessments have gone into place considering, the deficiencies that they have in their tools. If something has gone in, when this thing occurred, did they follow their procedures? How did the procedures flow? Because I can tell you on authority that nothing is actually being done, okay? I worked with the fire service so many years before, moving out of enterprise level work in Ghana. And I tell you that when they cry of shortage of logistics, it is real. But the first aspect of their work, they are heavily short on that. And that is why I say that their approach to leadership of the departments lacks strategy. And with that in place, we wouldn't have been fighting like this. If the fire department approaches their work with strategy, and let me not sound like something that's coming from the moon. Strategy is that, look, we don't have what it takes to fight fire in this house. So isn't it better for us to move the coal pot to the front and cook there? Because we don't have what it takes to fight the fire here. So let's move it to the front and cook there. Or we don't have what it takes to fight fire. So what can we do to make sure that there is not fire here for us? Okay, you inspect this place. You go and educate these guys. Inspection, education, enforcement. We will be able to bring these frequent fires down. And I'm saying that the aspect of their inspections alone could raise the fire service enough money to repair all the broken down tracks that they've been provided, years past. But that is not happening. They provide them, they use them, they break down and they pack them somewhere, they rust, they move parts away from it, sell them, and then they render the whole fleet completely grounded. And then they come back and start crying to the taxpayers again. I'm suggesting that the fire service boss, the chief fire officer, must be strategic in his management of the Ghana National Fire Service. There is no reason why you and I, Alfred, working at the enterprise level, we have targets. I'm sure that you don't just get up to come and sit on radio to talk. Your bosses will probably tell you that for your hour of anchoring the news, we want to have you bring in at least 30 minutes of talk. You must bring in resource persons. Another 30 must be you and your team in-house. So you don't have the freedom to just come and sit there and read news to people. You need to reach people like us to talk to. Is that happening within the fire service? Do they have targets that, hey, last year we had 11 fires from Ashanti region. This year we want to reduce that by 30%. And so whoever is in charge knows that I have to make sure I don't have more than 11 fires here. Otherwise, that promotion doesn't come. Otherwise, that pay rise doesn't come. And so people, how do we achieve that? Go out there, educate people, train people, inspect facilities, make sure certain high risk areas are well insured and all that, so that when even the unexpected happens, the burden on central government is reduced. These are not rocket science. These are common things that every manager 101 should know. But why is it not happening? Lack of strategy in our management. Otherwise, if President Mahama provides the Ghana National Fire Service today with 200 vehicles, I'm telling you next year we'll come back here and be crying for more vehicles again. Let's stop the fires.
Quite appreciate your time on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Nana Akwada is the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety. They are live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesme 107.1, in Tamale and W93.5 in Y and beyond. We're back shortly with the latest in business. But remember, today we're ending at 6 p.m. The sports team takes over with a pre-match analysis ahead of the crucial Black Stars game at 7 p.m. Stay with us. We're back shortly after this quick break.
Ghana, it's time to globalize. Gobe Nation and Gobe Eaters Association, it's time to assemble. Get ready for Ghana's ultimate beans-based food festival, 3FM Gobe Festival 2025. This year on the 22nd of March at Lagos City Mall, we're on a mission to celebrate all things beans from your favorite vendors. Come and immerse yourself in an electrifying atmosphere filled with great food, refreshing drinks, live band music, fun games, jama sessions, crown our king and queen of Gobe, and find out who wins Gobe Gobeathon, amongst many activities. 3FM Gobe Festival on the 22nd of March at Legon City Mall from 10 a.m. If you're an interested vendor or sponsor, please call 0531 100 927 or 0532 200 927 right now. Let's get Gobelicious on the 22nd of March and make history at 3FM's Gobe Festival at Legon City Mall. It's absolutely free. 3FM Gobe Festival 2025, celebrating culture, love and unity through Gobe. Powered by 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio. Proudly sponsored by Origin.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the business segment on Hot's Edition. Coming up tonight, business split over 2025 budget as some welcome tax cuts, others worry over extended sunset clauses. We'll bring you details of these and the latest PwC report. My name is Minwa Fo. Stay tuned. Now, the details. Professional services firm PwC has revealed that businesses are divided over the 2025 budget, with some welcoming tax cuts, while others are concerned about extended sunset clauses and delayed VAT reforms. In its analysis, PwC highlighted mixed reactions to the budget's measures, including the removal of certain taxes, proposed ports charges review, and government spending cuts. The firm also noted potential financing pressures due to major infrastructure and economic intervention programs. The following report has more.
Importers, for instance, are expected to benefit from a planned review of taxes at the ports, but many businesses remain frustrated over the lack of immediate VAT changes. PwC also raised concerns about the potential financial strain of major government initiatives, including the 1.5 billion cedis Agriculture for Economic Transformation agenda and the $10 billion Big Push program. Additionally, the firm plans to engage the Finance Ministry on certain budget measures, including the removal of the emissions levy. PwC says it will take advantage of proposed quarterly tax dialogues to better understand the intent behind these policies and share its perspectives. PwC also emphasized the need for clarity and consistency in tax policies to ensure businesses can plan effectively, warning that uncertainty in the tax regime could hinder private sector growth and investment.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report. Away from that, Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Income Investment Fund, Justina Nelson, has announced plans to review the fund's equity holdings in selected companies. The move, she says, is aimed at optimizing returns and ensuring strategic alignment with Ghana's mineral resource policies.
As part of her familiarization tour of companies in which MIF holds equity stakes, the acting CEO visited Njaro Investments and also engaged with companies Njaro itself has invested in. Speaking on the sides of her tour, Justina Nelson emphasized the need for a thorough assessment of MIF's investment portfolio. She noted that while the fund has made strategic equity acquisitions in key mining and mineral-related firms, a review is necessary to ensure the investments are delivering the intended value.
In the boardrooms, we are looking at the financials, we are looking at the profitabilities. We are also looking at costs, because if we are resetting Ghana, the taxpayers' funds needs to generate results for the country. And so those are into boardroom discussions. And where the need be and the companies are not doing well, we would urge them to do better.
Justina Nelson's announcement signals a potential shift in MIF's approach to mineral investments, with industry players closely watching how the review could impact Ghana's extractive sector. And before we go, Talo Ghana Partners
Talo Ghana and partners have announced a scheduled maintenance shutdown at its Jubilee Field later this month. The maintenance activity set to begin Tuesday, March 25 for 16 days will upgrade operations, boost production capacity and reduce risks in the field. During this period, Talo Ghana will focus on essential repairs and improvements to the Kwame Nkrumah FPSO vessel, including retooling of key equipment, conducting leak tests and expanding works on the facility to accommodate increased gas exports. That's it for Business News on Hot Edition. For more stories, kindly check out our website, s3news.com. My name is Minwa Fol. Stay tuned. Sports is up next.
It's time to globalize. Gobe Nation and Gobe Eaters Association is time to assemble. Get ready for Ghana's ultimate beans-based food festival, 3FM Gobe Festival 2025. This year on the 22nd of March at Lagos City Mall, we're on a mission to celebrate all things beans from your favorite vendors. Come and immerse yourself in an electrifying atmosphere filled with great food, refreshing drinks, live band music, fun games, jama sessions, crown our king and queen of Gobe, and find out who wins Gobeathon amongst many activities. 3FM Gobe Festival on the 22nd of March at Lagos City Mall from 10 a.m. If you're an interested vendor or sponsor, please call 0531 100 927 or 0532 200 927 right now. Let's get Gobelicious on the 22nd of March and make history at 3FM's Gobe Festival at Lagos City Mall. It's absolutely free. 3FM Gobe Festival 2025, celebrating culture, love and unity through Gobe. Powered by 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio. Proudly sponsored by Origin.
Accra, Ghana, Africa, and worldwide. Join us on Inspirational Gospel Mix this and every Sunday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Get ready for the revolution. What you say now? I just wanna praise you.
3FM.
King of kings and Lord of lords, lover of my soul, Jehovah, one and only God. I am Jesus Christ, the Holy Lamb. They come for you, they come for you, they come for you.
What is your favorite scripture?
Well, my favorite scripture is Romans 8:28, and it says, all things work together for the good to them that love the Lord. Kwame, that is absolutely my favorite scripture.
Yes, your Inspirational Gospel Mix, a moment to get inspired with the best of inspirational songs and interviews to get you prepared for the new week. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. with me, your big brother, Kwame Adu, mixing G, mixing gospel. You can't miss it. You are blessed as you listen. 3FM 92.7.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact act triumph? Or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards. 3FM Fit Start is sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and UGL Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
consequence. Take a big job looking balance. So you give me the boost your confidence. I'm a certified loner on the internet, but I got the bitches on the continent.
3FM 92.7.
I'm on your easy. If you get 6 packs on your big knock, you know fit test get delay. I need the doctors have to get rid of this feeling inside my head, my neck, my waist. But I still want that. I need the